In 2011, I began my research into stray dogs that were living on the street. I wanted to understand their relationship to dogs that were being killed in shelters. I began interviewing shelters and independent dog rescuers in Detroit and Houston, Texas. I thought they might be able to provide an in-depth understanding of what was taking place in two very different cities. I didn't know what I would find. I didn't think I would find this. This is Tom McPhee. I'm currently in Detroit. I am on Marston at Cameron. I was getting ready to shoot some B-roll of Michigan Humane Society's new facility, which is right over there. I wanted a little better vantage point, so I was getting one of my cinema cameras and we were going to hop into this house right here. I was just up there getting ready to shoot and I heard some noises, and so I took a look and I saw a whole bunch of very, very, very tiny puppies. And I just got done calling Detroit Pit Crew and Terry Sumter. Although I am literally right across the street from the Michigan Humane Society, I knew if I called Terry, these dogs would actually get taken care of.
Is that Mama?
That's, I think, she's been staking the house.
She doesn't look like she's got that much milk. Maybe, well, how big do they look? Maybe 8 weeks old?
Tiny,
Really?
like days.
You know, mama dogs obviously can be aggressive because they're going to be protecting babies. And she just doesn't understand this is her lucky day. So tonight she won't be living in an abandoned house. She'll actually come to my house and she'll have lots of food and water and every toy she can think of and anything else. So this is excellent. She will never live like this again.
It's all in the shadow of MHS.
Yeah, and that's ironic, right? I became aware of it really probably 4 years ago, and that's when I was like, oh, we better start helping these dogs. You know, I didn't know that there was such a thing as a whole bunch of stray dogs and living in a dangerous area that needed help, and, you know, very few people were coming to help these dogs.
Hey, little girl. Hey. Oh, she's not happy. You're not a happy girl, are you?
The other thing that was very surprising to me was the attitude about what was going on. It was kind of like, well, it's always been this way and we accept it. And I thought, well, you can accept it, but I'm not going to accept it. And I'm going to do something about this.
Do you want me to go ahead and get her?
It's not acceptable. It is preventable. And there is help that can be given to these animals to get them off the streets and to make sure that they're safe. And we really could, I believe there are ways to discontinue the perpetual generation after generation after generation of dogs being born on the streets to live the same horrible life.
Good girl. Oh, you good.
We'll make sure that they're all healthy. Look at them. Aren't they beautiful? Look. Hi, beautiful baby. Look how adorable he is. You're so cute. I love you. You're so handsome. You have a happy life ahead of you, my friend. It was very shocking to me. It never occurred to me that actually people who profess to be animal lovers and who would be, you think would be happy that we were getting dogs off the streets and we're being responsible with them. We're making sure that they're getting all the veterinary care they need and that they're going to good places. All right. And if you're not going to help me, step aside, because that's my plan and that's what I will be doing. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant to me. And I think that really bothered some people. You know, they wanted us to conform to, they have meetings, they wanted us to be part of these meetings, they wanted us to be part of their special groups. And I don't need to be part of your group. It was a gatekeeper type of mentality. You conform to what we say, you do what we say. We're going to determine how you rescue and how you don't. And I basically said, and that's why all these dogs are running around. If you guys want to have meetings and stuff, I don't have time for that. There's a lot of dogs dying on the streets and I need to get out there.
What I'd like you to do is say who you are, what your mission is, what's your purpose in the city of Detroit, and what you believe are the issues surrounding the dogs in Detroit.
I'm the Director of Operations and the Chief Cruelty Investigator for the Michigan Humane Society Detroit Shelter. We have an open admission shelter. We have an adoption center. We adopt out of that location. I think in terms of the problems with animals here in Detroit that we see is they just don't seem to have enough value to people. They are disposable. You know, they're like Bic lighters. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and we're seeing the same problems that we saw 20 years ago, and we're probably seeing the same problems that they saw 40 years before I knew there was a Michigan Humane Society.
In 600 feet, turn left into Chalmers Street.
Two brown pups kept roped to a small piece of standing fence in open backyard. Ropes are entangled. One pup has rope tied around waist. Dogs are lying on plywood. I've been in the same spot for months. Pups appear to be in good weight.
It's a new complaint?
Yeah.
Washington extensive at 4390 Philadelphia.
10-4.
Their side.
Yeah, looks like we got an alley if we need it.
Right here. Some kind of way, y'all better find out who did that to her. Because they know what they've been doing. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
Yep.
I knew she was going to blame it on me because I stayed next door to her.
Well, a lot of people could see
I
it.
just got home from the doctor's office and happened to look out here and I called her and told her that the dog looked like he was dead. That was it.
A lot of people could see it. It's under those steps, I think. Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
With the Humane Society, we got a call about the dogs.
Yeah.
You got two of them?
That's me. I only come to the door.
Okay.
Come here.
Come on, come here. Just
Hello. Hi, sweetheart.
You're okay.
The whole warrant process, I mean, we pick up dogs all the time that are underweight, that have embedded collars, that have died of exposure, and we just follow the steps for each one. The first thing is we have to have a responsible party, and in the big scheme of things, that's usually the hardest thing to get. Whose dog is it? You know, you have 8 people in a house. I can't put 8 people on a warrant, and I can't put just an address on a warrant. I have to have somebody who steps up and says, that's my dog. In this case, I got that. You know, we bring the dog in, we collect our evidence, and we go to our veterinarians and take the information down to the prosecutor, and then they make a determination if there's enough for a warrant. We usually drop our warrants off in stacks, and we really have to kind of determine what type of abandonment we're dealing with. You know, people sometimes leave their dogs in the home, and it's the last thing they move out. And people think, oh, they moved out and left their dogs. Well, no, they just haven't taken everything out of their house yet, and their dogs are still there. And a lot of times they just up and leave, and you know, the house is trashed and the dog is chained in the backyard, and they have no intention of ever coming back. We post it and we'll come back the next day and say, my dogs aren't abandoned, I'm working nights now. So it's a process. We have to be able to show, you know, that the dogs truly are abandoned. We've had situations where, you know, other organizations just go out and take them.
Have you seen that dog that just ran by? I've been following him for blocks.
I don't know who dog it. I called the dog pound on him.
Our guidelines for determining whether or not a dog is a stray involves a lot of getting to know the community. We do a lot of knocking on doors and seeing if anybody knows this dog, showing them a picture on our phones and say, have you seen this dog before? One of the most difficult things, I think, when it comes to working with the stray population in Detroit is that the current laws about, or ordinances about who can pick up and where and why, that is based on the assumption that all these animals were owned at some point or actually have owners, where in a lot of cases we're dealing with multi-generational strays.
Open forums like the one you held, they create conversation, and conversation drives this change and drives the organizations to collaborate over problems that we share. I think that the whole no-kill movement has done 2 things. Number one, it absolutely has driven animal welfare forward. It has brought discussions to the forefront about animals that maybe historically had been euthanized. It's also created an enormous divide in animal welfare. As I said earlier, you hear it often called animal warfare, and that's really what it's become.
As we got to know the community and got to understand what each organization's roles were, some of them, you know, we felt needed to be addressed. One of those organizations was Detroit Animal Control. They were killing a lot of dogs. The dogs were not in sanitary conditions. The dogs were suffering prior to their death. So we protested them.
We need to identify and understand what the true problem is. I thank you as the citizens of Detroit, because this isn't about rescue. It's about the citizens of Detroit and making a difference in, Terry and I moved here 4 years ago, in what we consider our hometown now, and working with the community. And it's when the community bands together against a failing organization, a central organization that's commissioned to serve us, the community. When they fail, it is our right, check that, it's our duty to peacefully protest and resist and request and demand change. This place needs to be shut down. There are viruses in there that cannot be controlled. No dog right now should be going in or out.
Amen.
The Detroit Animal Control Department has been headed by a variety of different people, none of whom seem to have been able to really connect with the rescues in the city. They really need each other. They need each other and they need to work together, and they're not doing it yet. There have been protests outside of Detroit Animal Care and Control. I don't know why the city facilities, the major facilities in Detroit can't work with the rescues. The rescues only want to help the dogs, and so they need to try to find a way to work together. It hasn't really come together yet in Detroit.
Stepping up, offering to adopt the dog known as Ace.
Who would like to put their hand up and start to encapsulate the base problems that Houston has?
Speaking specifically to the issue, Houston has a very temperate climate. Strays can breed year-round. People can breed their dogs year-round. They don't have a cycle where it gets cold and unfortunately strays die off. The dogs all survive through the winter. We have a lot of people who breed in their backyards. They don't think it's a problem. Either they're doing it for profit or just because they want the animals, or because their dogs don't get fixed and they don't understand why their dog keeps getting pregnant. I had to go out and talk to one of my neighbors, and I told her, your dog is getting pregnant because the other dogs jump the fence and mate with her. And she said, oh, they do that? There was no awareness. And I said, we can go get her fixed. And she said, oh no, I don't believe in that. I don't think that's good for the animal.
In Houston, they have an overpopulation situation going on. It's warm down there. They just keep repopulating. The facilities there are full. There are many, many, many street rescues that can't even pick the dogs up, again, because they don't have anywhere to put them. They need fosters for them. What they do instead is they do feeding routes, which actually is illegal there. We went to Houston to survey. We were doing a canine survey, trying to determine how many animals actually were in the streets of Houston. We drive routes through town. We track the dogs on an OSM tracker. We take their photos. It puts a GPS point that shows where the dogs are. So every day, twice a day, we would go out on routes that we had pre-planned through the city so that we could have a cross-section of where the dogs are. In Houston, the facilities are full. They can't take the dogs from the rescues. Bark in Houston had actually been trying, and we've been filming and working with Houston. They have gotten much better about accepting dogs from the rescues, bringing them in. There is contention, and a lot of it comes from the people in the cities and the rescues, because those municipalities, the shelters, they don't come when you call. Just trying to be a good citizen. And they call the shelter, they call the municipality, they call and call and call to get a dog helped or picked up, and nobody comes. Nobody ever comes. Then they try the street rescues, and they come. So people try, they're trying. And the cities, the municipalities will say, well, we don't have enough staff, we don't have enough space for them here, we don't. There's always some excuse, there's always some reason, if you can even have a chance to talk to somebody.
The reality is here we run at capacity year-round. Summertime, it becomes crisis mode because we are operating at capacity, but then even more so with people bringing in animals on top of all the animals we're receiving. On average, Harris County Animal Shelter receives about 60 to 80 animals a day. Sometimes it's up to 100 during the summer months. We have a very small staff, and we work nonstop every day to try to find as many positive outcomes as we can for the animals that are in our care. And we do this every single day, and it's just the numbers during the summertime, it's hard to keep up with. And it's not just here at Harris County Animal Shelter, it is everywhere in Houston and in Texas. I mean, we are all just drowning in animals during the summer.
Hi. What's your name?
My name?
Yeah.
Sherry.
And what's your dog's name?
Mitzi.
Hi, Mitzi. And why do you have to surrender Mitzi today?
Mainly, the biggest reason is we have another dog at home that's 6 years old. And Mitzi's sweet and a good dog, very affectionate, but she is a raving lunatic. Our other dog has a bad back and bad knees. And ever since we've had her almost a year, we have to keep them apart all the time. And anytime she is around Rico, she just charges. Not to be angry or aggressive, just that herding instinct.
You guys are now under this pressure. What do we do? In the past, it was, well, you just relieve that pressure with retiring all those animals. That's not really a path that's being taken right now, is it?
No, I mean, at the shelter, we want to save as many animals as we can. We're committed to life saving. That's the vision that we see moving forward. And so we really need the community and community partners and corporations to be a partner and support us in this, that we can help to save more animals.
Kingston. Come on, buddy. Come on. Come on.
You can see how his paws are all, totally inflamed. This is like being eaten alive by fire ants all the time. Poor baby.
Couldn't we take him? Well, it's Erica Gamal's neighborhood. Well, so what? The dog disappeared.
We take him to bark. A lot of the rescuers don't agree with taking him to bark. We try not to step on each other's toes and, yeah. Well, I mean, physically for him, obviously he's miserable. He's itching it's like having a million fire ants all over you all the time. And so the sad thing about dogs is he's acting like he's perfectly happy because they've learned to adapt to all the misery. Some people ask, like, well, is the dog happy? Well, that does not indicate anything because this poor dog is miserable. And, I mean, look at that. You can smell the infection too, so his skin is infected, his lymph nodes are all infected. I mean, and it's just a young dog.
Just a little dog too, gosh.
Well, I know that I would rather see this dog euthanized than have to live like this. One time we took a dog from another neighborhood and oh my Lord, we got blasted for, don't ever come to my neighborhood and take a dog. We see a lot of horrible dogs. We can't take them all home. I have 26 dogs at home that are ex-chain dogs. There's no more room at the end. So yes, the clock starts ticking down at bark, and then bark will definitely, the more attention the dog gets, a lot of times if they think the dog is going to go straight to euthanization, then they won't do a heartworm test or anything like that. And then if it does have a lot of attention, you can ask them, they'll do a heartworm test because we can transfer a lot of them to RPM, Rescue Pet Movement. It goes to Colorado. Here, take a right.
Women loving that attention. Getting jealous, he not getting no attention. Look at that little tail back that way, he's mad, he ain't getting no attention.
I'm so sad.
Yeah. Just make sure you get it. Yeah, make sure you spread the hair apart and get it all the way to the skin. So, one pill is for 22 pounds. So probably that puppy can have like a quarter of one. But this one doesn't have fleas because the mama we gave Perfecto.
Do you see the others?
Awesome. Look at that. Look at the difference in a puppy that had Perfecto. We'll help you out.
No fighting, no abusing, and no using. You gotta love them, because they're gonna love you. That's what it is. Love that baby. It's my baby. You know that daddy. Mm-hmm.
Nobody wins unless there is hand-to-hand on this all the time.
And if you don't teach them, but you see, since we've only been here for like a year and a half, and you see they come out of the woodworks, they come asking for help. And it's not because they are wanting a free handout, they just want better for their dogs.
SNAP has a mobile clinic, the only free service really in the city. Okay, we do have a mobile clinic, and we do go into low-income neighborhoods and try to access those people, and it is fairly successful in that usually the truck fills up, okay? But there are two limitations, and these are very important. The lower the income, the greater the apathy. People just don't care enough, and the only way to make them care enough is to actually, one-on-one, go into their homes, call them, follow up with them, press them.
One, I've been in the veterinary business for 25 years before I hit rescue. I can tell you start mandating spays and neuters when a dog comes in for a rabies vaccine, you're suddenly going to have a rabies epidemic because they'll stop coming in for those vaccines. We've got to stop pressuring people into this is what you have to do and instead talk to them and say this is what's going to help you. You start pushing people, they push back. You say, I want to help you, they say, please.
We need to work together. You know,
Who's that up to? Who's it up to whether it's going to be a divide or not?
everybody. Yeah.
So you're deciding right now you're going to work with everybody right here.
We've always been willing to work with people.
Is everyone making that pledge right now? Everybody's pledging to work together.
Healthy projects.
Hold on, I didn't see. I'm actually going to take a survey right now. And I'm going to get everybody.
Transparency is a very important equation in trust. Trust from the community to trust the organization. They have to believe what they're looking at is the truth.
One of the most difficult things, I think, when it comes to working with the stray population in Detroit is that the current laws about, or ordinances about who can pick up and where and why needs to change somehow. I don't know how we do it as a group. I would love to hear everybody's suggestions, because that's got it. If the only people that can pick up those dogs are the 23 animal control officers, and if we have somewhere between 15 to 25,000 stray dogs, that's 1,000 dogs per animal control worker.
My name is Russell L. I worked here for just about 16 months, and they do really good work here, except for when it comes to pit bulls. They euthanize every pit bull that comes in. I'm talking puppies, litters. I had 16 months, there was 30 to 40 litters that I seen get euthanized.
You're not a rescue, you're a killer. You're not a rescue, you're a killer. Killers.
We want to rescue all the dogs off from the street, but we got no rooms. And then the so-called animal shelters, Humane Society, Anti-Cruelty, Animal Control, they kill at least 85% of the dogs.
Well, the end goal is to have a ton of people out here protesting and saying we're not going to stand for a killing anymore. We don't want these animals being killed. We want some changes to be made here. We want you guys to work with rescues. We want you guys to be saving more animals. And if you can't save them, don't pick them up. The Department of Agriculture needs to get out here and see what the fuck is going on here. Go through those doors and ask them, are these numbers fraudulent?
And if they can't do that and work with us to make those changes, then the current administration needs to go.
We have been, for the past 3 years, and actively in my year and a half, involved in conversations over the city on how we can play a more active role in driving change in Detroit animal control, up to and including potentially sheltering animals for them.
The first and foremost thing for our citizens to understand is that we're not an emergency response service. Usually our response time is between about 24 to 72 hours. Space here isn't so much the issue as much as the humane housing. Ideally, you would want animals not to be double stacked and that everybody has their 4 feet on the floor. Our current capacity with the cages that work and function is 194. Our capacity for care is between 180 to 220.
We are actively involved in the city. We take strays directly off the streets, more than twice as many as Detroit Animal Control takes.
I have 10 animal control officers who also double as kennel attendants. So any given day, we either have 1 or 2 units on the road for the entire city.
Animal welfare often lives in a vacuum of this world worst case scenario. Historically, I think that that's been an issue with animal welfare, and one of the reasons that the no-kill movement was able to drive so much change was that you would have organizations who would have animals and they would look for reasons not to place an animal with someone. That home's not good enough. They're not quite doing enough. They don't have quite the fence I'd like to see, rather than looking at reasons to adopt an animal. So I think any stray dog on the street is a problem. I don't think it's as significant of an issue that as is being portrayed in many instances. And a lot of times it gets portrayed to create a sense of need, or they create the sense of chaos.
I was a little disappointed when the new DACC got up and running that officers still were calling us, and it's not disappointment that the officers call us, it's disappointment that we went to a great amount of effort to protest DACC to make sure that changes were made, and they're still not responding.
We prioritize DPD calls, the Detroit Police Department radio runs and calls, as they are in high danger situations, raids and so forth, or they are actually witnessing something that needs assistance. After DPD calls, we assist our United States Postal Service workers, which constitutes about 10% of our dog bite cases in the city.
So your point about no regulations and not a lot of oversight over these independent groups or independent citizens just grabbing animals off the street, really enacting in an animal welfare, animal control capacity. The problem with that is, I give just a scenario. If I'm in the city of Detroit right now, and I've lost my animal, where do I look?
Yes, we found out that when some of the citizens or people were calling DACC, that they were directing people to contact us, giving our phone numbers out there, which was fine. I just wish we would have had a heads up. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know why our call volume spiked all of a sudden. And then also apparently at a roll call for the police department, they instructed all the police officers to contact us. So we started getting, bombarded with calls.
I think appropriate cost-benefit analysis is incredibly important, and remembering that the number one goal of animal control is always public safety.
I think that they were trying to cause us to be overloaded with calls, but then of course I think it kind of backfired on them because we put it out there that we're receiving call after call, and it's because DAC has given our number out. And then people are asking, well, why are you giving out Detroit Pit Crew's phone number out? They're not a shelter in the city. We're not responsible for picking up every dog in the city. That's the job of DAC.
You have to move at the speed of trust. The Detroit community was so fractured less than 5 years ago.
So the data is likely being collected, but it's not being centralized into a specific location where it can be used to look at what's really happening in this community. Part of that is fear. We talked a little bit about the chaos. People are afraid what people will do with the data.
And I want to point something out. These accusations are not being made by the community of Detroit or the owners of the dogs. They're being made by the rescue community, who again takes information that we have on our Facebook page and makes it an assessment as to how we rescued that dog.
Animal welfare is a very passionate topic, and sometimes people lose sense of what's really happening.
In terms of our response to animal issues and public safety, that it's going to take a while to undo some of the damage that was done during those years and to build up trust between the organizations to share that vital information.
The stance was, well, this is the best we can do. And you can never believe that this is the best you can do and want things to improve at the same time. You have to believe there's something better. As indicated by that chaos that was created, there are passionate people in this community. And one thing that we cannot do is underestimate passion. Passion can do a lot of things.
Director Miller, do you have any comment on the police officer you're harassing that's trying to assist your department?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to define harassing.
Fear and science fiction in your head. One bright color under Jesus. Bars and fences to demean us. Fear and science fiction in your head.
6 years ago, I came in contact with Tom McPhee of World Animal Awareness Society, and that's how I got involved in learning more about rescue dogs and dogs being rescued. We film with rescues and show what they do out on the streets. And I had no idea what was going on in the streets. Even when I rescued my own dog, I had no idea what was really going on out there. Absolutely no idea. The stray dogs, the mistreated dogs, the left behind dogs, everywhere in Detroit, in Houston, in San Antonio, all over. There are dogs loose, not being taken care of. And somebody has to try, and that's the rescues. I learned tremendous amounts by filming them, following them, working with them, and watching them try to rescue abandoned dogs. stray dogs, loose dogs that will never have a home.
We are coming on the air for breaking news. Hurricane Harvey barreling into the Texas coastline as a Category 4 storm. Thousands flee the path of destruction.
We have a boat, so we brought it down and have been here since late Friday night, just trying to help out and find some animals. Hey guys, we're trying to find you with the drone. How far down have you gone?
Lakeview Cutoff. Go just past the store, and it's on the left.
Here, and he came out of a creek and walked in front of our truck and boat.
So your dog got loose, huh?
Well, my parents' dog got loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've come to reclaim.
He does it pretty often, though. They're going up the road somewhere where they can be taken care of on some higher ground. These are.
Woo! 42, baby. We caught him. We got him. Hey, bring me some more meat. Hey, bring me some more meat.
You know, he's the dog of that other guy, right?
Oh, that's his.
The dude that you were just helping out down the road, that's his dog. He came all the way down here to visit.
Oh, they was trying to catch him.
They signed an MOU right pretty much when we got here. We've been trying to help. The people that were evacuated from their homes were told they could stay with their pets, and now they're being told they have to leave. Our concern is that there are people that wanted to help that had trained equipment, trained personnel, and that weren't really being allowed to help. I think there were some lessons learned with Katrina, but what we're finding out now, that people forgot them. It was 12 years ago. There might have been some minor improvements, but overall, we're not seeing that here. Pets are family. They're not being treated like family. The emergency preparedness is an afterthought. And Best Friends is not here to criticize, we're here to help. We've come in, we've offered our help. We want to make sure every pet in this arena lives. There should be no time limits, there should be no breed restrictions. Even if it's a rumor, it's causing concern. We know that killing homeless pets for population control or for convenience is socially unacceptable and morally reprehensible. And Best Friends wants to make sure all pets find a home. Homeless pets shouldn't be treated any differently than an owned pet. And we believe strongly in that. And we've got an offer on the table with Houston Spca. We've asked them to respond to our leadership in Kanab, Utah, and let them know if they'll accept our offer that all these pets stay here so their people can find them. Shipping them off to another community is going to make it more difficult to find them. So we want to help. We're not here to be armchair quarterback criticizing. We want to help. We know how difficult the situation is. The fact of the matter is people are suffering, and there was equipment and trained personnel that could help, and it wasn't coordinated and information was hard to get. We want to learn from that. We want to be part of solutions. We want to save these pets. And now these people that brought their pets here are sleeping in a cornfield or underneath a car, and they have nowhere to go.
So what I would say is that I'm not our PIO. I'm not our communications person. So I want to give you that person's contact information.
Okay. How many animals do you have on site right now, though?
Well, we are intaking. We're intaking 4 puppies, but our goal is at this time we're moving all animals back to the Houston SPCA. Yeah, we have a space to appropriately house them and do what we need to do.
Okay. Do you know how many you've brought in so far and how many you've taken over there?
I do. They call her.
Okay. I'll be behind this bush, you pull.
Okay, but I gotta get these boxes out of the way. Hang on.
Amazon has been lovely to you.
Yeah, very.
These people just making a bunch of donations through Amazon? know how busy it is, and
Yeah,
we
no,
left
no.
a message, but
And she's in a meeting right now.
No
When
worries.
we get all of your information, we're going to have her give you a call.
We'll go from one society to another.
This is a kind of a makeshift facility, MASH type facility. We are working with Houston Pets Alive and Best Friends Animal Society. I am the executive director of Austin Pets Alive. We reached out to all the shelters that were in the line of fire and said, are there animals that you would be looking at euthanizing getting ready for this storm, and can we take them from you? And so we reached out to a lot of shelters and did that, trying to help the animals. It doesn't really matter if people want us to help or not, we're helping the animals, and that's what our niche is. And then we found out that there wasn't really a big plan in place for rescuing the animals that were trapped, and once they were rescued, there wasn't a plan of where they should go because the city of Houston's shelter was incapacitated. Harris County shelter was incapacitated, so people were left to their own devices of just letting them go on the shores once they were rescued from homes. And so we stepped in as being a surrogate to help take some of those animals in, provide housing until the city could get their Lost and Found program off the ground.
When we get out of here, I was like really sad that you know, because you think, did we get all the dogs out that we needed to get out? Right. Did we? Oh, there's a dog. Oh, you're gonna put it. Well, I was gonna put it back here. Does anyone want to find him a rescue? Okay. Then we'll take him. Yeah, okay. Definitely.
Yeah, because I've talked to like different shelters and stuff. You know, they give them a certain amount of time and they put them to sleep. I don't want them to be put to sleep.
No, we're gonna network them. Okay. Yeah, he is heavier. Thank you so much. You're welcome. If Houston Pets Alive is still open, then they're going there because I know that they'll find a good home with them. Okay. Definitely.
Hi! You can't get out of my way. I need to get to my new home.
Hey. Hey, baby. Hey. Another one.
An orientation right now.
Got a rescue already.
Awesome, you're ready.
Hi, I'm Paige. I flew down from Virginia, and I'll be driving back on Sunday, and I'm taking probably 15 to 30 dogs back with us.
Tina, this couldn't have worked out better, could it?
Seriously, no, it couldn't have worked out better.
We are working with the City of Houston Bark, and we're able to get permitting as a kennel license so we can operate this facility. And we don't know the volume. We're working with several groups, shelters, rescue groups that have lost their facility, and we'll continue taking those animals in. And then our goal is within 48 hours, either move them to an adoption facility locally through Houston Pets Alive or Best Friends Animal Society, or transport them out to other cities. And these are only animals that have no hope of finding an owner.
One of the most exciting things, if you can call it that, is silver lining, is that the community has really come together, the animal community has really come together, and it's been really inspiring and motivating to see that this community really does want to save lives. And it's hard on a day-to-day basis when there's so many animals coming into the municipal shelters and so many that can't be saved on a day-to-day basis. We see that the will is here, and now we just need to structure the mechanism to get it done so Houston can be sustainable as a no-kill city going forward.
Guess what? The dogs are going to Virginia. Yes. I'm bringing the mama tomorrow to them. I've showed the picture. Yeah. It's a Virginia Paws Rescue out of Virginia, Staten, Virginia. Yes, ma'am. Oh, God, I've been crying. What are you talking about? Right? Right, that's the way to save dogs, called Tina. Thank you.
Spca closed?
Excuse me?
Spca is closed?
Yeah.
Everybody went home?
Excuse me?
Everybody went home?
Yes, why?
Just checking. It's 7:15 at night, right?
Already.
They're closed.
7. Thank you.
Thank you.
7:47.
What time?
7:47?
7:47?
Yeah.
What time is this place closed?
9.
9 o'clock?
Yes, sir. I graduated from veterinary school in 1997 and moved to Austin in 1998 and started volunteering at the city shelter. And at that time, I didn't know anything. I went to veterinary school and I didn't know anything about what happened inside shelters. So I think it's very common for the public to not have a full understanding of the outcome of most of the animals that enter the city shelters. When I first moved here and I offered my help to the city, I offered to do spays and neuters to come in and just help them get animals healthier so they could be adopted. And at that time, the spay and neuter room was shared with the euthanasia room because they were doing renovations to the facility. So while I'm doing one surgery, 10 animals, dogs, were marched in and killed right in front of me, and I had no idea. I was completely blown away that this would occur in a shelter that is, my perception was that they were there for the humane treatment of animals, not as a killing field.
I walked right into your filming in Beaumont. I was at the Ford Center. I had heard that there was nobody in charge in Beaumont and the Ford Center. Best Friends had heard that there was nobody taking care of the pets. They were volunteers. I don't want to say no one. There were some very hardworking people there, but not an organized group of people. There was volunteers. We tried to communicate with the sheriff and also with Houston Spca while we were there. We didn't make very much headway with that. As far as the sheriff was concerned, he had other things to worry about, and now it was handled. Asking for a pledge to keep those pets alive for 30 days to give their owners a chance to find them, that was our sole mission in Conroe initially, is establishing a safe temporary shelter for the pets to get the care they need and to immediately focus on reunions. It was the same when we moved to the NRG Arena in Houston. The focus of that operation from Conroe to Houston was reuniting pets and their people. And if we couldn't do that, we were going to move them to foster home. And if we couldn't do that, we were going to get them adopted. I think transparency is what concerned a lot of people during this situation. Here's the deal. I understand that Houston Spca has a memorandum of understanding for emergency response with the city of Houston and counties. Totally understand that and appreciate it and respect it. We do. But something that catastrophic where people and pets are drowning and you're going to talk to me or ignore my phone calls or our emails when Best Friends leadership has emailed you, called you repeatedly, offered resources, offered personnel, and you say no thanks, or in the beginning silence, and then no thanks, or we'll get back to you, or nothing. I find that's bewildering to me. And also too, there were people that didn't want to speak out because they had to work with them after this disaster was over. and they knew how vindictive, or they felt that it could be very vindictive, retribution, punishment, and they didn't want to speak up.
Houston Pets Alive had a location that Best Friends also was helping with. So they were all working together. Houston Pets Alive, Austin Pets Alive came in, and Best Friends Animal Society all worked brilliantly together, creating a facility for animals to be taken care of and reunited with their families. And if they were actually loose dogs off the street, to be prepped for adoption.
We are trying to have all the potentially owned animals go to other facilities. Our partners throughout Houston, like Best Friends at their Rescue and Reunion Center, we are taking animals that are up for adoption. So they're coming here perhaps from shelters that were impacted by the hurricanes. Maybe they flooded, maybe they collapsed, and then they come here and then we'll transport them to other places. So right here we have some animals waiting for transport. So any animal here that we had come in as a stray that could potentially have a home, we're sending over to NRG, and from there they will go ahead and be somewhere where they can find a family. We have people coming in who are asking about their animals and they're welcome to walk through, but it's very unlikely that they would be here. I think that with the technology we have now, we're not going to have that issue in Katrina where it's going to take so long for people to get reunited. We have some really amazing databases, so if people just give us their information, we can put it in this lost and found databases that have been set up, and then they will just have to kind of wait and we'll get the word out.
I wanted to help with everything. I'm a licensed vet tech, so I was trying to help with whatever I could. So, Texas Chihuahua Rescue, if you need a Chihuahua, you know where to go.
We're here trying to help out. Actually, we lost our hospital in this flood. We had 250 people employed here, Gulf Coast veterinary specialists, and so we're up here helping out now. Since we don't have a hospital, we're trying to do our job.
That's great.
Where are you guys from?
We're from Ann Arbor, Michigan with the World Animal Awareness Society.
This is amazing.
They don't have names.
So let's work together. They're going to be sisters or brothers.
Hi.
I'm looking for Julie. Tom McPhee.
Tom?
Julie?
No, Julie is not here.
Okay.
The Rottweiler, Nikki, is still at the Woodlands Dog Suites, which was, from my understanding, contracted by the SPCA to help temporarily house some of these displaced pets.
They gave me the runaround and the runaround, the send an email. Sit and wait. Wait for us to call you. Wait for the database to do its job. Give it a chance. But I gave it a chance for 2 weeks, knowing that there's a 30-day hold period.
As of this morning, the Rottweiler
has no ID
in Woodlands had no SPCA ID number attached to her.
How was I supposed to find her? How was I supposed to let their system work if she's not even in there?
She's not in their system to begin with. She's not on their database to begin with. She didn't have an SPCA ID number. For 10 days, she's been at this facility, at least 10 days.
I could have been with my kids.
How are you? I'm Kathy.
I'm Lisa.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Right here.
What is this?
That's just that we're reuniting with your dog today.
How did she get an ID number? She didn't have one this morning.
That's how she came in. I took this off her this morning so
Why?
I can look for her to see if she had her tag around her neck.
No, it was taken off of her.
What was taken off of
Her
her?
tag.
You
But
don't
that's
know
fine.
if it was taken off of her.
Oh
She
no,
could
I'm
have
just saying it may
lost
not been y'all, but she was tagged is what I'm saying. It's not on here. That's all I'm saying. It may not been y'all. I'm not saying it was y'all.
Oh, you're saying there was a tag on this?
Yes, with an ID.
With your
three of my
ID?
Mhm.
Okay, so what do you want to do if they're not willing to sign?
Well, she's obviously wanting her dog back.
Yeah.
But I
So
but
that's false information.
When
number was given to
was
her
that
this
ID
today?
number given?
Today.
So the dog has been in the possession of the SPCA for at least 10 days
with no ID.
no ID number.
I'm not sure, ma'am.
No, y'all know because y'all knew I was on my way.
That. All I know is this is the dog's ID number. This belongs to your dog, and you need to sign it
Sign
in
it to
order
get your dog
get
back.
your dog.
Okay, so this can I just get this?
Nikki,
my baby,
baby. I know. I'm sorry. I know, baby. Oh, I'm here, baby. Baby. Hey, easy. Sit down for me. Sit down for me. Thank you. Okay, relax. You're okay. Yes, you smell busted. I know. Okay. I identified my dog on their website. Okay? They told me he was at the Woodland Suites. I would have to wait for one of their employees to come and retrieve my animal.
Right.
And I would be able to go the following morning to pick him up, which I did. She is at your facility too. It has nothing to do with you. It's failure on their part to keep up with their paperwork.
Right.
Because they retrieved my animal and she's in the database
There's
with
going
my
to be a
animal.
lot of different
I understand
things
that.
go wrong. You should just be happy that you got your dog.
No,
back.
I'm still missing one of my other dogs. So don't tell me to calm down and relax.
I'm not telling you to calm down and relax. I'm telling you should be happy you got your dog.
Trust me, I am, but I had to go to hell and high water to get her.
We just found out that her other puppy, the third dog that's still missing, is right outside of Austin.
I don't care what anybody says, what anybody calls a lie or a rumor.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have took that dog that night, when I took him, he'd be dead right now. I watched these vets for 3 days. There was no food for the dogs until it started coming in Friday. They were feeding the dogs their own food. I fed the dogs, was able to feed the dogs with scraps. Just volunteers from all over the country. I mean, from Colorado, New Mexico.
Oh, so they were letting vets come in.
That was
from out of
before
state?
SPCA came in.
Yeah, the second SPCA
As
came
soon
in.
as
they wouldn't let any
SPCA
out of
came in,
state.
they started just kicking people out, making hour restrictions. And you go through there, and we go through there earlier, and every freaking kennel was full. Now there's 20 empty kennels the first hour. All the pit bulls
are gone.
Tell me you ain't doing
That
something
really
with
happened?
I've seen
He
it.
was there.
I've seen it with my own eyes. One of the girls was crying.
Was this a vet?
Yes, a vet that had volunteered from like New Mexico. And it's crying about the dogs disappearing. And I walked
So
over
they
there.
were coming after they closed down for the night, after 8 o'clock?
And they were taking them off the trucks.
And they were
trying to they kicked everybody out. They didn't have enough, there were few volunteers that were still inside. And they couldn't,
And y'all were still there because you were feeding them all.
That's right. They couldn't, yeah.
They weren't kicking
couldn't
y'all
kick
out.
us That's right. And this was more, I think, the National Guard. So the first 2 days, they were being overwhelmed with animals. And they didn't have food. They were having to let some of them be adopted out because they didn't have any way to take care of them. And it was all volunteers. But then like an SPCA came in and basically, I mean, they were instantly, pit bulls started disappearing. I mean, 20 empty freaking pit bull kennels. I was like, man, this little guy doesn't deserve to die.
So was the SPCA had already taken over by the time you got him?
So I filled out some, there was an SPCA volunteer, I guess she had a heart. There was a vet there.
Did she have like an SPCA shirt on it?
Yeah, she did. She had the
lanyard
SPCA
badge.
It was crazy.
So you filled out paper and you
filled out
gave them all
paperwork,
your
gave them all my
information.
information.
They took pictures of the dog.
And they had pictures of the dog.
They knew you were taking the
had
dog.
my phone number and knew I was taking the dog.
And you never ever heard from them?
I've never heard a word from them.
Playing politics with the voiceless when we're supposed to be their voice and we're supposed to take care of them. They're a vulnerable population. To position yourself and to be secret squirrel about where your animals are coming from, what you're doing with your funds, your live outcome, people are mad. They're mad about that.
Can I see some of the animals that are up for adoption? I'd like to potentially adopt an animal, and I'd like to videotape the process.
Okay, we are not doing adoptions right now.
What are you doing?
We are doing disaster recovery.
Okay, what does that mean?
I am not going to answer your questions. I am going to refer you to Julie.
Nobody is answering our questions. Okay. What's wrong with you guys?
Tom, I'm going to again refer you to Julie to answer questions.
Is she here?
She is not here.
Now, some of the rescues took this opportunity to try to clear the streets. They pick up dogs off the streets and as I mentioned before, tried really hard to find fosters for them so they can pull them. This was actually an opportunity. It was a silver lining, kind of in disguise. They were pulling dogs off the street, taking them to best friends, to these shelters where they knew they would be safe, where they knew they would be taken care of, and where they knew they would eventually be moved off for adoption.
So have they been pretty easy to work with here?
Yes.
Now, we don't have to say it because you're on camera. If they've been difficult and they've been if they've made you cry at all, we want to know about this.
If I cried, they'd be tears of happiness, tears of joy.
here. Come here, baby.
Tank fixed?
Not yet.
Is Julie in?
Julie?
Your information officer?
I can try to find it for you.
Hey, Tom. Hey, it's
Travis,
Travis Egan.
right?
Hey, yeah, Travis. Hey, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask you to leave. So if you
What's
go ahead
the deal,
and
Travis?
Well, we're gonna ask you to leave, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been heading over to all the different facilities to see what everybody's working on, and I just came from Houston SPCA, where they actually had one of their investigators follow me for a while until I spotted him.
We thought that they would say, "You're here, thank you." And there are many communities, when they see best friends show up, they get the feel goods.
We visited Austin, Texas. Austin knows how to run their city and make it a dog-friendly city. Some companies even move their headquarters there because it's such a dog-friendly city. You can bring your dogs to the office. The city has taken steps to bring in the community into their whole process of taking care of animals in Austin. If their shelter gets full, they send a message out to the community of Austin and say, "Can you please foster a dog for a couple of days?" People come running. Austin is a city that really, truly cares about their animals.
When we first started, the city of Austin was saving 50% of the animals. And so we had a certain proportion of animals that were low cost, high turnover. But then we started getting into groups of animals that never got saved. So that was shocking again to me. I had sort of bought into the idea that whoever was dying probably had something significantly wrong with them.
The state veterinarian in Texas said, "You need to be practicing space management." And I played dumb and I said, "What do you mean?" You need to go through and you get the ones that have been there the longest and you get the ones that are sick and the old ones missing some teeth and I was very polite. I'm not going to argue with the state veterinarian. And she left and we all got a big yuck out of that. It was also very stressful. She has a lot of power. And we don't kill animals for space in Austin, and I don't recommend that communities do that. If they can help it, let's find live outcomes and solutions.
It is much simpler to kill them than to fix them up and find them another home. When we started, it was very controversial. The problem is the city, even if you don't cast the city as the evil character, the city is the one that's doing the killing. And so they feel a great amount of pressure anytime you're using those words and you're talking about these animals are going to die if so-and-so in the community doesn't help foster or adopt.
The center of it all, in my opinion, is what animals live and what animals die. And I think that people can be very much offended by this notion that the only reason they're dying is they're homeless.
I think that non-collaboration is a huge issue in this field, and it is frustrating because it's hard to bring people together. When I first got involved with Austin Pets Alive, I really wasn't expecting that lack of collaboration. The programs that we created are not rocket science. They exist in animal welfare, just not in sheltering.
The only reason those pets are dying is because they happen to be homeless temporarily. My first day on the job in Austin was the end of a 20-year drought. And we were at capacity frequently. And we were at capacity then. And we were not going to kill the old animals and the ones there that have been there the longest. So we set up some pop-up crates. And we put pets in there and we're playing soothing music and we've got the crates covered with towels and we've got volunteers coming in and walking them more often because the confines of what they're being kept in temporarily are smaller. And we invited the media in and we said, hey, we're at capacity and there are these record floods happening. A 20-year drought is broken. When I left that day and went home, All those crates were empty because they were an emergency foster. And that's what I mean about a community ethic. We had Austin Pets Alive, it's a huge, important partner. We had over 100 rescues working with us.
A consortium of lots of groups, animal groups came together, the city government came together, the city shelter. And it was a really bold plan for back then. A lot of good things were happening, a lot of good momentum, but not the kind of impact that I think they were hoping for and we would have liked to have seen by 2001.
When you're being asked to do something that you know is wrong or unethical, and you do it anyways, we're supposed to be protecting them and we're supposed to be their voice. And that's why I said there'll be a time in history that we look back on this time in history and we will be considered insane.
Six wheels beneath a dozen dreams. 4 stops to go, but I'll take plenty more. 'Cause my home, sweet home, can roam just as far as this highway goes.
The city worked on a no-kill millennium plan. The goal was to increase public awareness, increase spay-neuter, increase adoptions, and increase volunteerism. They had some specific strategic initiatives, and they launched that in 1998, and some of those came to fruition, but a lot of them didn't, just because I personally think that it didn't have enough focus on getting the animals out of the shelter is why it didn't make a huge difference in the save rate.
Now that commitment began with the mayor and council with a resolution. The city of Austin's progressive animal services policies has pumped $157 million into their economy since they've made that decision to stop killing homeless pets. The city manager and the assistant city manager and the mayor and council were committed. They didn't want anything covered up. They didn't want anything hidden.
So now we have an amazing relationship with the city of Austin. There are very few cities that have a nonprofit that is really focused on trying to increase the city's live release rate as their goal. So politicians care about what voters care about. And if people aren't badgering them and wheel squeaking about it, then they don't pay attention to it. We're trying to apply other business world and nonprofit world techniques to this field, because this field is sorely lacking in being innovative and getting these animals out. We did this as volunteers and people in the community because we don't want to live in a community that is killing animals.
The community doesn't want us to kill homeless pets.
When we started, the only relationship we needed from the city was access to the euthanasia list. We didn't need any money or anything else. Just let us take the animals from you. We won't ask for another penny to be spent on them. Over time, the city council became more engaged, and they're the ones that really shifted change within our community. They pushed for it. They created a no-kill task force on the Animal Advisory Commission. Then they passed a resolution to get to 90% save rate as a city. Within that, there were a whole slew of things that the city staff had to do as part of the new city mandate, and that made a huge change. The city staff fell in line because that was now their job, and that's that's kind of how the city government works. I think that there is a lack of innovation in animal sheltering, and I don't know why that is, but there's so many other businesses that have grown by leaps and bounds and have innovated and innovated and innovated, and sheltering just seems to be very slow to the game. We are actually working with a retail company to help us figure out how to work with customers, help them see come to us, tell us what they want, and help them find what they want in this sea of lots of dogs that look the same. We purposely don't go to the traditional conferences because we don't want to be, we don't want our mind filled with things that don't work. When we started, there was a ton of opposition to no-kill. I don't think that there's any community out there that wants us to kill animals.
Sunny day, slight breeze, bills are paid. Sky blue, and then suddenly bad news. So much for pleasure, so much for leisure. One step towards and two away from the treasure. Up from the rubble, a beautiful bubble. Now here comes a brand new burst of trouble. But if I could see it coming, I could avoid it. If I could be more pliant, I'd be more important. I'd be more important.
Hi, I'm Tom McPhee with the World Animal Awareness Society. I'm trying to get in touch with Patty.
Do you have Patty's phone number?
I do. I'm heading there right now. She's in. I'm going to go see her. We've been trying to get in touch with Patty for a while now.
Give her a call. I mean, she's at work.
I'm going to go directly
there.
there.
Where she is.
It might be good if you gave her a ring and let her know I was coming.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
I'm here to see Patty.
Okay, Patty is not, she's not here.
Okay, I was just at her house and her husband said she was here at work.
Patty is not in this building. I can pass along your information and let her know that you're looking for her. You have made your intentions clear.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi everyone. The last time I was here 2 weeks ago, we were speaking on the issues surrounding BARK refusing to immediately accept stray animals brought into the shelter. The feedback we received from all of you seemed to be that you agreed. If someone finds an animal on the side of the road, they should be able to turn that animal into the shelter. Saturday is particularly important because it's the day most people are off of work. Keep in mind that there's already 2 days of the week that the shelter is not accepting animals. But Saturdays, I mean, when could you take an animal? If you have an animal, you find a dog on the side of the road, you put them in your garage or in your spare bedroom. Saturday is going to be the day you're going to be able to take them to the shelter. Well, you can't even take them there to get vaccinated on Saturday, so you could hold them for another week. You can't, after you've held them for a week, you can't bring them back on Saturday. So when I was here last time, Mayor Turner, you responded that this deferred intake policy was in order to control disease. However, in the most recent statement released by BARK, they're stating intake is now closed on Saturdays due to, and I quote, recent budget cuts from the city of Houston.
Thank you.
So, I'm not done, please. So what's the deal? Are they controlling disease? Has funding been cut in the past 2 weeks? Or are they simply trying to not do their job as a taxpayer-funded animal shelter? Can anyone please shine some light on how this issue has managed to get worse, not better, since the last time we were here?
I think it's a combination of both. One, the initial reason why they put a limit on it was because of distemper, and it was the problem was infecting all of the animals in the shelter. And what we were advised was that the best way to protect all of the animals in the shelter was to have them get the necessary shots before, and then keep them away for that limited period of time, and then that way all of the animals would be protected. So that was the problem. Is that though this is something that every shelter across the entire U.S. deals with. Every shelter in the entire U.S. and across the world deals with distemper, parvovirus, kennel cough. I mean, this is not some sort of like, oh, we only have this in Houston. And other shelters find a way to deal with that. And I'm not saying don't ask people to take home that animal for 1 week. Some people will be able to take that animal home for 1 week. But the difference between, so whenever we finished speaking last time, one of the BARK representatives cornered us in the hallway and asked us, and they said, well, this is a program that's implemented in many shelters. The difference between a PASS program, a positive alternative to shelter surrender program, and what BARK is implementing right now is a PASS program is for an owned animal that the family can no longer keep. So you're asking people to take home their own animal for 1 week, or maybe an animal they bring on the side of the road, but that's going to be less common. The issue with BARK is that it's a dog you know nothing about. Yeah. Well, one of the reasons one reason was because of distemper, and the other reason is because of budgetary concerns.
You realize, though, that by turning people away that can't hold an animal, you're putting that animal at risk of ending up back on the streets unaltered.
I understand.
So our problem is going to continue to get bigger.
And I agree with you, and it is going to get bigger.